Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Expanding Reporting with Conga Composer webinar. This webinar is a part of our ongoing webinar series and is intended to show you how to create completely customized executive reports, compensation summaries, internal reports, and much more using Conga Composer. I'm Teresa Bowerly, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Before we get started, let's do a little housekeeping. The entire webinar is slated to last for about 30 minutes, including 5 minutes for Q&A at the end. We have a lot of registrants, so everyone's phones will be on mute. If you do have questions, please submit them online. We may not get to all of your questions, but we'll answer as many as we can during this session. Any questions that we do not get to during the FAQ section, we will post to our knowledge base. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll also make the recording available within a few days on our YouTube channel and in our knowledge base. So let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce Peter Terhune, who will be taking you through this session. Peter is our Director of Strategic Solutions here at Conga and is looking forward to showing you how you can expand your reporting with Conga Composer.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Again, my name is Peter Terhune. I have been here with Conga for almost 5 years, and so there's a good chance I've spoken with the majority of the audience this morning. And you can also follow me on my Twitter handle, at CongaPete, out there, and I'm tweeting about Conga-related things and Salesforce as part of my responsibilities as a Salesforce MVP. So let's do a quick overview of the agenda. Teresa committed me to a lot of different ideas around compensation, executive reporting. If we were able to get to all of those in 30 minutes, we would be really flying. But I do want to give everybody the idea of how to be able to merge and create documents via Conga Composer, Salesforce, and Excel templates to be able to generate kind of global or org-wide reports. These are documents that are not specifically tied to a single opportunity record or a single contract or a single case or a single account. We're not talking about buttons that are object specific. We're talking about kind of a global, give me all of the opportunities for this month or something of that nature. So in today's webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about Quick Merge, which is the object we're going to be working with, and where we can install that. That's a free package install from the Conga Merge website. We're going to set up a Quick Merge record, include a couple of reports from Salesforce reports into that Quick Merge record, create a corresponding template, manipulate that template a little bit, do some things with some Excel formulas, maybe even do a chart. And then we're going to add that template into the template manager and configure Quick Merge so that everything can happen with one button click. And we'll do some additional behavior parameters. And you'll see here I've got some strip column headers of parentheses, PDF outputs, and background modes highlighted that we'll be talking about. So without further ado, let's jump right into Salesforce and put some rubber to the road. So in this org, I've already installed my Quick Merge Links object, but before we go too far, I will go ahead and take us out to the Conga Merge website, and so I can highlight where we can find those. So if you go to congamerge.com/support, or you can land on our homepage and click on the support tab, you'll see here that there's a link for installations, and this tile will take us to a tab with additional installations and some add-ons that you can use to enhance Conga Composer. And Quick Merge is found right here, the second from the bottom. And we've got two different install links, and one of them makes use of record types. Thus, it is available for Enterprise and higher. For those folks that are using Professional Edition, go ahead and use this. It does not make use of record types, but it has the same functionality. So once we've installed this into our Salesforce instance, we're provided with a new object called Quick Merge Links. Once I'm in here, we don't provide any data as part of this, so we're going to go ahead and create a new Quick Merge link. From my list view, I'm going to select that button, and select what type of record I want to work with. In this situation, I'm going to be using point merge, and we have some definitions down here. It says a point merge link is used to produce a single document, possibly using multiple sets of data. And that multiple is really our key operator here, because we can now incorporate 5, 10, 15, on up to 50 different reports and data sets into our solutions with a point merge solution. So we'll move on into the quick merge link record, and I'm just going to give this an easy name, something like weekly pipeline. We can provide a description, pipeline report for users. And this is a very simple object. You see here that we really only have 3 pertinent fields beyond the title in which to work with. We can make some customizations if need be, but I'm just going to work with these 3 for today. This first one is really the most important, report IDs. This is a field where I can actually store my Salesforce report IDs right into this field, and that will be incorporated automatically into my quick merge link solution. So I'm going to save this for the moment, and we're going to go to the reports tab. Now for the webinar, I've already created a couple of reports, and this first one that I'm going to work with is My Ops, and this is just an opportunity report. It's filtered for my opportunities, so if you were to save this report in Salesforce, this would always run under the authority of the person who is running this operation. Composer respects all of the permissions and settings that you've configured in Salesforce, and so My Opportunities is just that. It's going to be the opportunities of the individual who's running this report. We could further apply some filters here if I wanted to set a monthly duration and all kinds of different customized field filters, things like that. But for our data purposes here, and so that I have a good size set of sample data, I'm just going to leave this fairly open. Now I've copied the report ID, and if you've worked with Composer, you've probably done this in the past, where we go ahead and capture these ID values and make use of them in our solutions. So going back to my quick merge link, I'm going to go ahead and paste that right into that field. However, you'll notice in my naming convention, I provided this little bracket my ops syntax. And this is an alias that I can use to make things a little bit easier to work with when I'm building my template. So I'm going to grab that value, and I'm going to put that right in front of my report ID. Now, additionally, I'm going to do one more report. And I already have it pre-populated here for my tasks. So this is an activity report in Salesforce that is all open and closed activities over the past month. Now, of course, you could make all kinds of filters and changes as you see applicable with no problem. All right, so we'll save that setting. And right here on the quick merge link, you'll see that there's a button for launch. Now this is a formula that is making use of all of the data found in these fields. So as I start adding in components into these fields, those components are immediately being integrated into this solution. So when I click launch here, we're going to go into a point merge or a Conga composer operation that will make use of those data sets that I've provided. So now I'm going to go to my template builder and take a look. And we'll see that I now have a master data set as normal. And I've got 2 custom data sets, one for my ops and the second one for my tasks. I'm going to go ahead and go into the opportunity tab here. And I can see all of these different fields. And these are all of the fields from my report that I've been working with. And the first one that I want to utilize is account name. So I can click on this field. It'll automatically put that to my clipboard, and I'm going to make note of my dataset name. So my ops, capital M, capital O, and we can go to Microsoft Excel. So if I would like, I can now create a tab, give it a friendly header here, and a merge field in Excel follows the syntax of ampersand equals dataset name, so my ops period, and the field name. So that is simply telling Conga Composer that at this cell starting at A2, look to the my ops dataset and populate it with the account name data. And it will simply dynamically expand based upon the number of records that are populated here. So I've gone ahead and I've kind of configured this template to pull in a vast number of data and all of the reports that we've already been working with. So you'll see here that I've got a tab created for my ops. And I've got a field for account name that I had left open. But now what will happen is you'll see these fields, my ops for account name, type, lead source, amount, expected revenue, close date, things like that. All of this information, when I click merge, is going to take the information from Salesforce and populate this sheet. Same thing for this second sheet here, my tasks. My tasks has similar data, just primarily task related, task subject, date, closed, things like that. And over here on the right, you'll notice that I have a formula. Now, if anybody's worked with Excel, you'll recognize that this is a fairly straightforward if statement. There's not a whole lot of complexity or unusualness to this, except for right here on the front, you'll see that I have ampersand equals ampersand equals. This is a syntax that we use inside Conga Composer that indicates that this is a dynamic formula. We would like for this formula to repeat as the rows of data are merged in from Salesforce. So if I have 25 rows of data for my report, I want this formula to repeat 25 times. Additionally, I have this syntax right here, which is this brace, lowercase r, brace. What this is doing is this is a row replacement. So on the first formula, the first instance, it's going to replace that r with a number 2. Why? Because I'm on row 2. And as this carries down, it becomes row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, and so forth. So once we merge, we'll kind of take a look at the results of that in just a moment. All right. So we've gone ahead and we've filled in our data sets for my ops and my tasks. Let's go ahead and save this. So I've saved this into a folder, and we'll go back to Conga Composer, close the template builder for now, and let's test it. Let's see if we've got some information and some data that's going to be populated into those data sets. For now, since I haven't loaded this template into Salesforce just yet, I have this option to use a template from my local computer. I hope everybody has made use of this because this will save a bunch of time if you're working as an admin and building these solutions. So here's my template. Right now I'm going to go ahead and leave it as an Excel file and we'll merge. So now we're uploading that file into Composer, running those reports from Salesforce, and merging that information. And here comes our output. All right. So let's take a look. We've now merged all of that information, all of the account name, all of these different fields, the amount and revenue, things like that. Additionally, we've pulled in the information into my tasks. So now we've created a solution that's running 2 Salesforce reports in a single button click. The Conga Composer limit is 50 reports. So you could actually have all kinds of additional worksheets that are included inside this solution. So one thing we haven't seen yet is our formula. So we created that if statement formula here, and we see that it carried down, but it hasn't quite turned on, and it's because of this enable editing is throwing a wrench in our gears. So I'm going to turn this on, and we see that all of a sudden that formula is represented correctly for us. So right here, you'll see that this is an open task. And so this is part of my dynamic formula. And that row has been replaced with the appropriate row number. So this dynamic formula that I put inside F2 has carried all the way through all of my results, my 133 results for my report. Now, another thing that I'm noticing here is that this date sure comes out strange. It's 41,666, 41,652. Well, that's really not a date at all. Now, in Excel speak, I'll let you in on a little secret. This number is actually the number of days since January 1st, 1900. So when Microsoft was initially working on Excel and they needed a way to figure out how dates should be formatted as numeric values, they just picked an arbitrary date, January 1, 1900, and then counted from there. But that's not really how I want that to appear. I'd like that to actually appear as a date. So let's go back to our template and make that modification. So we'll not worry about saving our output. We'll go over here to My Tasks, and this is that date column that we were just looking at. So I'm going to now right-click, select Format Cells, and notice I'm formatting the entire column. I generally use the column to capture my data. It was much easier to work with than just trying to format a single cell. So I'm going to select the entire column, select date formatting, and how about we use something like this? This is more kind of an international date string. And we'll save that. And we'll go back and merge. So again, we're uploading that same template that we've saved locally. We're running those reports and generating an output. And here it is. So now that date string is captured in the appropriate format. So 27th of January, 2014, and so forth. And now this is a little bit more consumable than 41,652. All right, so we're starting to get some information. We've got some data and some details that are populating into my workbooks. But what I really would like is I want to work with some aggregated information. I want to start looking at some of the data in summary. So let's go to our template. And I've started to put this together on this worksheet called Weekly Summary. On this worksheet, I only have 2 merge fields on this entire sheet. This one right here, the user's name, and today's date. But what I would also like is I'm going to start doing some aggregation and perform some Excel calculations against my merge data. So the first item is I want to see in my closed pipeline, which is going to be looking at the MyOps dataset, how many of these opportunities are closed won, how many are closed lost, and what is the total amount of those 2 values. So I can use Microsoft Excel's native formulas in order to perform this operation. So in order to get a count of records that are closed won, I can use a formula called COUNTIF. And I need to define a range, and then what criteria that range must meet to be included in my count. So my range is going to be the My Opportunities sheet and the stage, because the stage is the field in Salesforce that tells us what stage that opportunity is if it's closed won. Again, as I talked a little bit about in the formatting, I'm using the entire column. And you'll see that syntax. It's, MyOps, the sheet name, and column J:'J. So the entire column of information. So I'm going to look in that stage column, and I'm going to look for the value in this field. So B16. Right now it returns nothing because inside of my template here, I don't actually have anything that meets the value closed won. If I just type that real quick, we'll see. It now recognizes it's updated that formula and it's counted 1 record. So when Composer merges that data in that detail, it'll fill that in and we'll start seeing these formulas light up. Same evaluation. I want to see how many of these opportunities are closed lost. So I copy that. Paste that right in there. Oops. Shoot. I'm going to copy this formula value. We'll go down here, paste that right here. But I want to change that formula to look at the value for closed loss. So I'm going to look at that same column, column J, but instead of closed won, I'd like to look for the text closed lost. Just in the same manner that I can do a count if, I can also do sum if. So I'm looking again for a range that meets a criteria, but then I want to sum another value or another range. Sometimes if you're not terribly familiar with Excel formulas, you can use this little formula builder for you. They'll kind of walk you through those different steps. So what range am I looking at? Again, I'm going to be looking at stage. So the stage is column J. The criteria that I'm looking for is I want it to meet the value of closed won. But now when I see closed won in column J, what do I want to sum? I want to sum the amount column here in column F. So if it finds the words closed won over here, it's going to use that and sum that value here. Great. Since that's closed loss, we'll make that red. Okay, let's see what we've constructed. And I've actually built out the same formulas down here for the other stages as well. So we're going to save our changes, return to Conga Composer. I've got that file uploaded, and let's merge. So now we're going to, again, we're going to upload those updates with our new formulas, run those reports, and generate an output. So let's enable our editing so that our formulas turn on and become enabled, and there we are. We say that there's 26 opportunities that are closed won for a total of 9.1 million, almost 9.2. And in closed lost, we have 4 units for 645,000. Wouldn't this be a great pipeline for most of us? But we can now see how that comes together. This formula, this sum if, is looking at column J and column F over here. So if it finds the words closed won, it's going to sum the corresponding value in column F and so forth. So you'll see that that will carry all the way through. All right, let's go one more step. We're going to take just a couple more minutes. And why don't we chart our active pipeline? So if I select this information here, and again, I'm just using Excel's native functionality. This is nothing really to do with Conga Composer. The only thing Conga Composer is doing is it's populating these worksheets down here. And we're using these data sets to populate this information up here. So if I select this, we'll go to Insert. I want to do a pie chart. And I'm not really too concerned about the total units at these different stages. I'm really concerned more about the dollar amount. So let's go into our data. And series 1 is the first series here. And let's remove that because that's the one that contains our units. And we'll save. So right now the chart's not displaying anything at all because we don't actually have any information. Everything is at 0, right? So we'll save this change, let these formulas populate when we merge, and now we'll see the pie chart come to life. And now I have my security settings in Excel turned up a little bit. But if I go ahead and enable editing, we'll see that these formulas populate and the pie chart comes to life. So we see that there's 61,000 in proposal and price quote. There's 746,000 here in negotiation review and 656 in decision makers. So it's really just that easy. I'm just using Excel's native functionality and piggybacking that with Composer's ability to fill in these report values on different charts, or I'm sorry, on different sheets. So we're pretty content with the way this is working. We've got everything formatted. We've got a little logo, some light reading up there. We'll close this and let's upload our template into Salesforce. So we'll make sure we've saved our changes. And before we do that, I am going to make one more adjustment. I'm going to set the print range. So here on my page layout, I can go to the print area, set that print area. We'll save it again. Close this. And now let's upload this template into Salesforce. So if you've worked with Conga in the past, Conga templates v5 is where we store that information. So we'll do a new pipeline here. And we'll do a template group, call this expanded. Now we'll simply attach the Excel file. There's our template. Attach. Done. So now, just like we did with the report, I can capture the template ID. I'm going to copy that value, go back to my quick merge link, and drop that template ID right in there. So from now on, whenever I click launch, Conga Composer knows which template. It's going to automatically grab that template and make that available for merging. But a couple of other requests have come down the pipeline from my decision makers and my business users. They'd like this to be a PDF file. So I'm just going to use a quick parameter for default PDF equals 1. And what this will do is this will convert that output to a PDF file. In addition, I also would like this to run in background mode. I don't necessarily care to expose the whole Conga window to my users. They just want to see a little button to click launch and then get the file. And we use DS7, that's our background mode setting, equals 13. So now, when I perform this operation, the user only needs to click launch. They're going to see a small status bar, and then their document will be generated and returned to them in just a moment. There's our output. We've turned on our pipeline report. We'll zoom that out a little bit. And now we have this as a PDF file. All of the information has merged correctly. The chart has turned on. The formulas have all rendered appropriately. And because I set that print range, we don't really have the information of the underlying data. We're just printing off a one-sheet summary of all that. We're not really concerned about the underlying details. So it's just that easy. Now I can also create a list view where I could actually launch these operations from right here. So I don't even have to go into the quick merge record in order to generate this document. I could simply instruct my users. I could even have the ability to limit field visibility and take off page layouts and things like that. So I could really just do a launch right from a list view and be able to generate this document with a single click. So that just about wraps things up from my demo perspective. Again, this is where you can go out. If you go to congamerge.com/support, that's where you can download and install this quick merge links into your Salesforce instance. And I'll open up things a little bit for Q&A.
Great, thanks, Peter. So one question we got is, where is the enable editing in Excel? I'm not sure if they're talking about when you're just opening up the document and you have to hit enable.
I would have to get more clarification on your question. I'm guessing that you're inquiring about why. Let me turn off the PDF setting. Or actually, I take that back. Let me just do this. I'll download one of the recent generated documents. When I open up this file, when I was previously turning on that enable editing, that is a security setting that you would have to reduce inside of your Excel options. And I'm not going to go too far into that, but if you go into the options menu here, you can set these security settings for Excel files. And I would actually encourage you to go ahead and leave it where it is. Generally, what it's trying to do is prevent you from enabling some malicious macros that might be pushed through on an Excel workbook. So if you find an Excel workbook from a unknown source, there can definitely be some stuff cooked into there that could be a little questionable. So I would leave that security setting enabled. But if you really feel motivated, it can be found under here in the options menu.
Okay, great. And then what is the limit of records you can include in your data set?
Great question. The number of records that can be included in these reports, each individual report cannot exceed 1,500 records. So 1,500 records per data set is our limit. Now, across the solution, you see that I have, of course, in this situation, 2 reports. I could definitely have 3, 4, 5, and so on. Across the solution, the total number of records is 25,000. So you can build a very, very robust data set and be able to drive that information. Now, some organizations have attempted to come to us as like a replacement for our Crystal reports, where we're doing aggregations and summaries of millions of records and things like that. That is not what Conga Composer is really designed for. We really do have a hard and fast limit, 1,500 records per data set, 25,000 records per solution.
Okay, great. Another question is, can we generate these reports and schedule these reports to be sent to a set distribution group on a weekly schedule?
There is an ability to do some scheduling of these operations. However, it does require our paid add-on called Conga Conductor. So you can configure solutions that will do every Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, this report is run in the background and automatically emailed to a fixed distribution list. That can be configured. And I'd be glad to assist somebody offline if it's really something that you're intrigued with, and our support team can assist. But it does require the additional paid add-on Conga Conductor to enable that scheduling component.
Okay, great. And let's see, another question is, can we set report to send and upload to a SharePoint site?
So can we deliver that document to a SharePoint site? Not directly. We do not have a direct integration with Microsoft SharePoint technology. Some organizations have set up SharePoint to have an email address, so you could create a folder inside SharePoint that has its own email address. You could do something that would schedule an email delivery to that SharePoint folder, and then SharePoint would grab the attachment and upload it. But that's something that's really downstream of Conga Composer. We do not have a direct integration with SharePoint, but I have seen some creative workarounds utilizing email folders and things like that.
Okay, great. And then let's see, we can take a couple more questions. Is there any way I could allow users to change the report parameters themselves? For example, can one user ask for it to be run for this week and then another user to run for the other dates?
That would definitely be feasible. However, one of the things to keep in mind when you're templating these solutions is that those parameters for date ranges, things like that, that can absolutely be manipulated, and the user could change those values. However, do keep in mind, should they change fields, it might break your template. So as long as they are always using the same fields that your template is making use of, then they should be able to manipulate that report. However, if they start manipulating the fields on that report, then that would have a breaking effect against the template, because the template is field specific.
Okay, great, thank you. And let's see if we had another question. This might be one we can answer at a later time, but someone's asking, when I create a Salesforce report with no Salesforce filters, I get access to all the fields to put into the template. However, when I add some filters, then only the available fields are table start and table end. Not sure if this is related, but it gets in the way of trying to do this type of reporting.
So this is this is something that we didn't really talk about much here. But if I were to add additional filters to this report, and we'll go in and we'll use this My Opportunities report here, and we will filter out maybe for type. And so I'm going to add a filter here for type, and I only want to include new customers, right? So I've added a filter for new customers, and it's whittled down my report results. So if I save this setting, what will happen is if I'm using additional field filters inside of your quick merge link, in order for that to work correctly, I ask that you add these extra characters on the end of each report. You would type question mark, lowercase pv0 equals. That's all that's needed. So these 4 characters right here at the end of that report, and that will simply instruct Conga Composer to run the report exactly as structured. So if we were to do that, it probably would be actually good practice to include that on all reports regardless of filters inside Quick Merge. Now, the reason that we do that is Conga Composer has a default behavior of taking the object that I'm on. It wants to take this value for the ID and pass it to this filter. So that doesn't really make any sense. All of a sudden what's happening is Composer's taking the Quick Merge link record ID and replacing new customers with this value. So in order to override that behavior, because that is the default behavior setting, and that's something that is designed for more of the record specific for opportunity buttons and contract buttons and case buttons and account buttons, things like that. That behavior is desired in those situations, but inside Quick Merge, that's not desirable. So in order to remove or override that behavior, I just encourage you to add these 4 characters on the end of every report. And what that will do is that will run that process based upon those specific filters.
Okay, great. And then just one final quick question. Someone's asking, what if they are using Salesforce Nonprofit Edition?
There's absolutely no limitations around this whatsoever. Nonprofit edition is considered, for all intents and purposes, it is considered an enterprise edition of Salesforce.com. So you can have all of this same functionality, and if you're downloading and installing this package from our website, go ahead and use the enterprise link. That is the same as your nonprofit edition.
Okay, great. Thanks for all the questions, everyone. I think that'll conclude our Q&A session for now. We did want to point out some additional resources for you guys. As Peter mentioned, we have a support page on our website, and on that support page you have access to our knowledge base. And if you search for the term useful Conga resources, you'll get access to some related articles as you see on this list here. So we have Conga quick start tutorials. This is great if you're just getting started with Conga and just want a quick get started guide. We also have Conga error message. We also have a Conga error message archive. So this is helpful when you're first building out your solutions or testing them and you may come across a common error. We have an article you can refer to see if your error is on there and then how to go the best way to fix that. We also have a Conga webinar archive. So if you're interested in listening to more webinars that we've hosted in the past, you can go check that out. There's a list of all the webinars we've done. We also have the Conga webinar registration, which is probably where you want to go register for today's session. We have a Conga template library. This is helpful if you're just needing some inspiration and creating some templates or need a quick way to get started building your own templates. And then we have our Conga documentation, which is a little bit more in-depth information that can walk you step by step through each product. And then finally, we do have a Conga YouTube channel. So any training recordings, including webinars, are listed there as well. This webinar is a part of our ongoing webinar series. So we also do getting started with Conga Composer, creating Word templates, Conga Composer and e-signature solutions, Conga Composer for nonprofits. The list is kind of endless. Each month we try to pick every other Wednesday and do a special topic like we did today. So just check out the webinar registration page and that'll show you a list of the upcoming webinars and how to get registered. And thanks again for your time today. We hope you enjoyed this session. Let us know if you have any questions. Later after today's session, you'll receive a follow-up email with links to the recording and FAQs from today's session. So thanks very much, everyone.